Hey YouTube. So it's me. You've not seen me for a long time. It's not Alan Titchmarsh or Monty Don, or whatever his name is. I've not been in touch for ages. I'm multitasking. I'm doing a bit of gardening and thought I'd catch up with you because it's been a long time since I've given any kind of update. And if you've just rocked up back on the YouTube page, you'll have seen it's had a rebrand. Marla, more adventure, less admin. And I'll come back to that. So I'm going to probably take the YouTube channel in a bit of a different direction. And I thought it might be a good idea to explain where my health's at, what happened in the last 6 months since I've been in touch, and also what the plans are for the future and stuff like that. And while I'm doing it, at the minute, I'm trying to prune these raspberries. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but I think apparently you cut off last year's growth and focus on, or maybe the year before's. Last year's growth becomes this year's raspberries, and the year before you cut out, and then what grows this year becomes next year's raspberries. Something like that. Identifying which ones are which is difficult. It's beside the point, and it's got nothing to do with Terry. It's got nothing to do with more adventures, but it does give me something to do whilst I'm chatting. So, health-wise, first of all, it's been interesting. So I finished all the chemo, I finished all the radiotherapy. Fundamentally, I'm in remission. I think I gave an update that explained that, and I've just been carrying on with immunotherapy basically, which has been going on, and it's supposed to have been going on for another year. So that was where I go in, and I have the drugs every 8 weeks. I don't get too many side effects from that. It's a bit of tiredness. Lethargy, fatigue. It's a bit weird, but nothing specific at the time of the infusion, nothing like chemo. So that's been going on every 8 weeks. So I've sort of been having that for about a year now, because I had that whilst I was having the chemo as well, and it's supposed to be going on for another year, but we've paused it for reasons I'll explain shortly. And then apart from that, that's been it on the drug front, I think. So I ended up having a colonoscopy. Trying to get to the bottom. I suppose I've been trying to get as close to the tumour as possible, sort of in my abdomen, but I've had bowel issues and stuff I won't bore you with. But I went for a colonoscopy and had a reaction to that, and ended up being in hospital for a week. And I was really ill after it, before I went into hospital, and then after I came out. So that knocked me out for a few weeks, and it's frustrating when you're trying to sort of improve your fitness and get back on track when these little hiccups come along. A week in hospital, interesting experience. But it's enabled us to go on a bit of a different direction, trying to work out, well, the results of the colonoscopy indicated that I had bowel disease, and that potentially I'd had that long term, was my thinking. And I was kind of a little bit excited by that in some ways, because I thought, oh, well, bowels, abdomen, lymphoma, hair, the tail of a dog. Maybe I've had the bowel disease for a long time, and it wouldn't cause lymphoma, but maybe it created an environment where I was inflamed and stressing out my body in a similar way to the teeth that I was looking at. Always looking at sort of reasons why, I suppose. We all get these malignant cancerous cells, but why was my body not able to deal with them? And I thought it might be the bowel disease. But I've actually been back to the hospital today, and I've had an update where they don't think the bowel disease has been there long. They think actually the other way around. It might be a reaction to the immunotherapy drugs that I was on. But I've also got this EPI, it's called, some sort of pancreas disorder. This is the difference between my head and the fact that I think I'm a healthy, fun-loving, life-living human being, and my body, which seems to have all of these issues, is very interesting. So I've got this pancreas issue, and I've been on this drug called Creon, basically an enzyme that helps manage it. So it means that my pancreas isn't producing the enzyme that produces fat. And I found out today that actually you're supposed to have a reading of 200 for this enzyme. Low is like 100 to 150, and my reading was 15, 1.5. It's so low that they thought it was a mistake. So they've just done another test, which I found out this morning, came out the same. So at 15, it's like crazy. Like my pancreas is basically not producing any of this enzyme, which is quite unusual apparently. So that means that I need to up the dosage of this Creon that I'm on. But they're also saying now they don't think the bowel disease that they thought as a result of the colonoscopy is actually a thing. So it could just be a pancreas issue. So now I'm going to be referred to a pancreas specialist, and we're going to do some more research. Pancreas cancer is the really nasty one that has terrible survival rates generally. And they don't think I've got that already, because I've had a number of CT and PET scans, and it would probably have shown. But we do need to try and work out, why is my pancreas misbehaving? Now, I've got a sneaky suspicion that it's been like it for years. I thought that was probably the bowel disease as well, but maybe it's the pancreas. And yeah, post chemo, when I really started to notice these problems, maybe that just upset the pancreas even more. So maybe it's always been a little bit dodgy, and now it's just really dodgy. And it broke it. Sort of can be the side effect of chemo and radiotherapy and all that kind of stuff. So it's manageable because you take this enzyme, just need to get the dosage right, and we just need to make sure that the pancreas hasn't had some sort of structural deformation and all that kind of stuff. Not deformation. Yeah, I suppose so. Like structurally changed. So we've got a bit of work to do to go and see the pancreas specialist. So that's ongoing. But generally, apart from sometimes feeling, apart from the hospital, staying in hospital, and apart from feeling really wiped out, like weirdly kind of drugged some days, you just feel like deliriously spaced out, and recognising that some days I can walk 10, 15k, and I might even be able to do that for a couple of days, but then I pay for it the next couple of days and I have to go and lay in bed for a couple of days and stuff like that. So I'm learning to listen to my body better, to manage what's going on. But generally, still think the cancer's in remission. Nothing indicates otherwise, but they've taken me off of the immunotherapy. I was supposed to be on it for another year, the obinutuzumab, which I can now say after a year of taking it. Supposed to be on that for another year, and they've taken me off it because it might be muddying the waters and just confusing things as to what's going on with these other pancreas issues and all that kind of jazz. So mixed emotions to that. I don't particularly want to be on an immunotherapy drug, but it does give you a bit of reassurance whilst you're on it that it's holding the kind of cancer at bay. It's depleting those immune B cells, which my cancer's made of. So not being on it in some ways is a little bit nerve-wracking because you feel like you haven't got that safety net of the drugs. But on the other side means that I can focus on getting my fitness back and getting my health back and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of takes me to where I evolved Mark and Terry. I've not been doing particularly well at keeping you in touch with what I'm doing. And I haven't been sure whether I've just sort of been taking some time out, basically. Pretty much gave away my last remaining restaurant and just thought I'm just going to focus on rebuilding my health, and whether to keep you guys in the loop with that has been a bit of a debate, I guess. But I had this idea, a lot of people get in touch and say, hey, it's really good to hear your story, it's quite inspiring, and that's very humbling and nice to hear. I don't particularly just want to talk about myself for no reason. But one of the key things I suppose I've recognised is that I speak to a lot of people who delay, or I suppose we're all trained to work our asses off, save our money, save for retirement, and retire and then do all the fun things we want. And there's more and more people getting these health issues or health conditions that means that really those plans get knocked off kilter. And if anything, there's been some real benefits to this journey that I've been on for making me focus and realise, hang on, doorbell, just a delivery, sorry. There's been some real benefits on this cancer journey. And I suppose the main one has been that sort of like that appreciation of life, of sort of living life in HD is how I describe it. Like I'm the happiest person at any event now because I'm just so damn grateful to be there. I cry at the drop of a hat, but if I go to a gig or a concert and I look around at everybody else celebrating and singing along, and I love live music, I love gigs, especially festivals, outdoors, cold beer, sunshine. I'm happier than all of them. And I literally have a little weep because I'm like, I should be dead, that big old tumour that was pushing on my kidneys and on my aorta. But I'm not dead, I'm loving life. So what it doesn't make me want to do is go back to not appreciating that and not living in that moment of gratitude. And I'm lucky that I've sold my business and I've saved enough cash that I can take some time out. And I'm going to focus. I'd already decided that this year I was going to focus on rebuilding my health, but also doing as much fun stuff as I can. So my lad, Sam, is off to university in September. He's 18 this year. And I'm going to miss him massively. It's like it's a weird thing to be so excited to see him go off and live his life. See, I could cry now just talking about it. Mental. Such a soppy git. But also to be so sort of devastated that he's not going to be in the house and to chat to, and he's my mate. But I'm very privileged to be in a position, time and money-wise, that I can take some time out to go on a trip with him. But I've also got no excuse because I should be dead, and I don't know how long it will be till the cancer comes back. But I want to make the most of the time that I'm here. So he and I are going on a road trip to Norway. We're going to take the camper van and we're going to go around Norway for 3 weeks, like a 3,000-mile trip. And I feel so blessed and so privileged to be able to do that. And the fact that he wants to come, we'll take the mountain bikes and do some hiking and stuff. But I'm bookending that with my dad. So my dad is in his late 70s. He's not in the best of health. He's fine, you know, he's a bit like me. He wakes up excited every day and he lives with gratitude, but clearly he's not going to live forever. And we're going to go on a cruise in Croatia for a week and, you know, do some island hopping and stuff. And what an amazing thing that is, in May to go away with my dad, you know, that generation, and in June to go away with my lad, a couple of generations below. And I've got some other trips. I'm going away to Holland with Fee for a week. I'm going to the Belgian Grand Prix with Sam. I'm planning a trip maybe to go out to the Alps next year. But anyway, the point being, this Marla branding that you might have seen, this more adventure, less admin. I hate admin. I hate sitting in an office all day. I've done it for so long in my career where I spend all day just sat in front of the laptop answering emails. Even now, even without a job, there's so much admin that needs doing, and the more toys you've got, you know, I've got a motorbike and a camper van and a nice house and push bikes or whatever, and just insurance and tyres and servicing and admin and home insurance. I know there's always admin that needs doing. I can spend hours and hours and hours, and I don't know what I do, what I achieve. I do it sat in front of the laptop. But I'm conscious that time is finite. You know, it is for all of us. None of us know what's going to happen. We can all have a heart attack. We can all get a diagnosis. Something can happen. But I've got no excuse not to live with a real awareness of that. I've had that wake-up call. I've sat there in the chemo chair. You know, I've pondered not being at my daughter's wedding about the fact that you can just disappear at any time, I suppose. And to have gone on that journey and to have that and to not use it and to not appreciate it would feel like absolute stupidity. And if that can inspire other people to remember to A, be grateful for every day that we're here, and B, to spend more time with your family and with your friends and with your loved ones, if that can be my sort of legacy, if that can be my inspiration, that feels pretty cool and that feels pretty exciting. And I've always travelled and I've always loved adventure. In my 20s, I travelled around Australia in an old VW camper van for nearly 2 years. You know, I've always loved that adventurous life. I travelled through Asia, I've been to Tibet and China and Laos and all these places in my youth. So more adventure, less admin. That's now my motto. Marla, more adventure, less admin. Some days it's still more admin and less adventure, and I don't like those ones as much. But I'm going to go on lots of these little adventures, and adventures that might just be, you know, might just be a day, it might just be a weekend. I've just been up in the Yorkshire Dales with Fee in the camper, you know, doing some hiking. And I think that idea, if I was going to take this YouTube journey somewhere, the idea that you can't necessarily drop everything and go on a world tour because you've got kids and jobs and family, I get that. But we should at least get outside and make the most of life as much as we can, whenever we can, as much as possible. But actually, don't delay everything to retirement. If you can, you know, take a sabbatical, if you can take some time out, or if you do, just sell your house and buy a motorhome and go travelling, or buy a bike and drive over Africa, whatever your level of adventure is. I'm just going to explore that. I'm just going to say, come with me, look, this is the journey I'm going on. I'm going to try and focus adventure over admin for the next year. I'm going to try and rebuild my health. I'm going to come off of all of these drugs. I'm going to see where I can get myself back to. I've been on high-dose steroids for the last 2 months, and they've fundamentally made me fat, in my opinion. I'm not looking for sympathy or whatever, but they've really stimulated my appetite, and my body fat's gone up sort of 5%. I put some weight on, so I need to get that off. I come off the steroids. I've got 1 more week left. I'm hoping that will really help me with that. So I'm going to focus on my health, but I'm going to say, look, come on the journey with me, because I'm also going to go off and I'm going to have lots of adventures. I'm going to do the big ones: Norway, Holland, Croatia, Belgium, maybe a month in the Alps. But I'm going to find lots of little things to do as well. And I'm going to try and share that journey and just like, yeah, well, let's just see how it goes. I'm not saying this is going to be a big thing. I might not be amazing at it, but I'll try and learn to be a better editor. I'll try and learn to be more concise and not waffle as much. So if you want to come with me, yeah, hit subscribe, follow me. At this stage, I can't say there's going to be a video every week. It'll be as and when, but I'll try and make it more regular. And hopefully it'll become a thing. And I used to do a podcast with people in the hospitality industry, and I'm interested in maybe relaunching that, but chatting to other people who've had a bereavement or perhaps had a health diagnosis that's changed their life and has made them go off and perhaps give up the job or change the job or change careers or stop working and just live a more adventurous life. And I'd like to chat to those people, and maybe we'll do some videos or we'll do some podcasts, and this becomes a space where we all question, how long have we got? And are we doing the right things? Are we spending our finite times in the best way? And we'll just explore that together. and I'll let you know what I'm doing about it, and you let me know what you're doing about it, and if I can interview some other people that are doing something about it, then I think that could be pretty cool. So that's the update. That's where I've been. That's where I'm going. That's why you might see a little bit of Marla branding kicking about. And just remember, more adventure, less admin. And this adventure starts with something as tedious or as grown up, or it couldn't be more over 50 years of age than pruning my sodding raspberry bushes. Okay. Much love.